Hey everybody, Mark May here. Welcome to my Artist Talk series. I'm here with a very special guest, Jacob Loafman. Jacob recently got featured as the one of the top 30 rising stars from Rangefinder, and he is one of those dudes who you're always seeing in the Looks Like Film community, and just a rad dude. Jacob, how are you doing today?
Thank you, man. I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing good. Doing wonderful. I'm really excited to be able to do this with you. I think I've been bugging you for a while. So
Yeah, I'm excited to do it, man.
cool. Where are you at today?
I am at my studio here in St. Louis. Up here doing some back-end business work and working on a new website and getting stuff ready for the new season. So
Rad. Are you near St. Louis? Or are you in St. Louis or?
Yeah, in St. Louis, Missouri. Yeah.
Okay.
The studio is located in the south part of the city.
Got it. How long have you been there?
I'm born and raised in St. Louis. We've had the studio it'll be 2 years in June this year. And it's been a great asset, especially when you're booking clients, because you don't have to go to Starbucks or a bookstore anymore. You can just have them come up here for consultations, and we have beer and wine and water and more beer. So
yeah, of course.
Yeah, it makes it easier and kind of loosens the people up because we're not in a public place, and it goes really well.
How long have you had a studio?
It's been about a year and a half. And then we're up for the lease is up this June, so we'll be able to renew it or find a new spot. But there's 3 of us in here.
3 photographers?
Yeah, 3 photographers, and we all we share the space, and it's good because we all kind of cover the spectrum of style of wedding photography, so we don't get cross clients at all. So it works really well, and we all second shoot for each other, and it's just a really good outfit.
Cool. Well, I always love to kind of start these things off by after we talk about the weather. How's the weather in St. Louis, by the way?
It was nuts. Earlier this week it was cold, and then yesterday and the day before it was like 65 degrees. It was just absolutely crazy, and now it's cold again. We're supposed to get some ice tomorrow and Saturday, I think. So we go to the grocery store tonight and prepare for the ice apocalypse. Oh my God, that's my heater. It's pretty loud. Sorry.
No worries. You sound great.
Okay.
Yeah, same here. It was t-shirt weather here in Durham, North Carolina today. So
it's wild, man.
Yeah. So I love starting off just hearing kind of like how long you've been shooting, some of your beginnings. What's your beginning as a photographer, as an artist?
Sure.
Sound like?
Yeah. So oh my God, it's so loud. A pretty typical story. I took photography class in high school. Really enjoyed it. It was it was a dark room, so I really loved the process. But a typical teenager, I enjoyed it, but I didn't do anything else with it. I just took the classes and enjoyed it. And then life happened, and I didn't pick up a camera again for 11 years, I guess. So it was 2013. I came across a Reddit post of self-portrait artist Kyle Thompson and some of his ethereal type of work, surrealist stuff. Yeah, and that kind of sparked an interest in me again. So I went on eBay and spent $400 on a Canon Rebel with a kit lens and all the macro adapters and all the cheap stuff. And started taking self-portraits, and they were, terrible. They were really bad.
How long ago was that?
That was in 2013. And it was, I made some awful stuff, but it was, I really enjoyed just the art of doing something out of the ordinary, something not normal in my life at that time. because I was a typical, I would go out with friends and stuff on the weekends and worked an office job Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. So this was a good creative outlet for me to try something different. And I did that for about 16 months or so. And then started getting the messages from friends and family. Can you take our photos? Blah, blah, blah. So I did that for 6 or 8 months until I felt comfortable charging people money for it.
Right.
Yeah, so I've just been, the past 4 years or so, I've just been shooting a lot. Up until the past few months, yeah. But 3.5 years I've been shooting nonstop.
I actually got started as a self-portrait photographer as well. That's how I, gained my audience and stuff too. Many people don't know because I don't have it easily accessible on my website anymore. Because
Yeah.
it's the same situation. It's like, please don't find those,
Oh yeah.
They're
I still
there.
have some on my Facebook photography page, and it's
Same.
they're good to revisit. It's good to see how far you've come, and it's actually quite unbelievable. I'm sure it is for you. Like when you look back at some of your first photos, when you started to get into it, you compare them to now, and you're like, holy, wow.
Yeah, it's insane. It's I love a body of work that you can constantly look back upon and see improvement and progress. And
Yeah.
I love looking at things and cringing. I think that's valuable and important. Like I make
big
a
time.
do it every year, where I sift back through. I don't know about you, but it's really, it helps me keep things in perspective, and not just kind of focus linearly, but be like, damn, I really have worked hard to get here.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think it's very easy to lose sight of that in ourselves. No matter what line of work you're in, I think it's hard to give yourself credit when it's due, because it almost feels a little cocky, a little overconfident if you tell yourself like, yeah, I'm really good. But most good people in the world that are confident in what they do, they tell themselves that because it's true.
Yeah.
The only ones that need to believe it are ourselves. So.
Right. Yeah, we were just talking about this before we went live, and how that was the first thing we talked about for some reason. Because we were talking about rebranding every year, and how we tend to have like low self-confidence, and
Right.
and then that makes us change for no reason. And we're like, well, why are we changing? And we talk to our friends, and we're like, oh, we just did this rebranding. Someone who really understands business and marketing, they're like, well, why? And then I respond in saying, I don't know. I just felt like something needed to change. I don't have any clue why it changed. Because we have low self-esteem and confidence. We don't believe in ourselves. And,
it's a very interesting time we live in, especially in our industry with the amount of social media that we are dependent on to a point. If we get business through social media, you create a dependency on social media. So it's difficult to not get sucked into the world of social media, where if your name starts to rise a little bit, your ego can grow very large very quickly. Where when you go to post on social media, you're no longer doing it for the same reason you started photography. You're doing it just to receive likes or cool comments or accolades or anything of that nature. And I've fallen victim to that. It hit me a few months ago that I love the community, but I'm taking a step back from posting as much, and I'm just going to try to interact more with the community rather than posting a photo where I get the thought of like, oh, this will get this amount of likes. This is awesome. Like, yeah, I'm starting to push that stuff out of my brain, because at the end of the day, posting on social media may get me clients, but a lot of the times it doesn't. For my business, that's the stuff that happens word of mouth and back end SEO stuff. So that's what I'm going to focus on this year.
Really cool. Yeah, I agree. I think that I will say that without Instagram and Facebook, I don't have a business. Um, that's that's true for me. I think because initially
Yeah.
I started with this project where I'm trying to communicate to people that I am trustworthy and I do make art every day, all day. And so
Sure.
I think that that's been interesting to experiment with. But yes, I felt very, very similar recently about that, and that there are other ways to reach my audience and um, other ways to communicate value in a more pinpointed, specific way
Right.
to my audience, rather than just getting my little neuro cookie is what I call it.
Right. Yep.
Oh yeah, I got that looks like film 1,000 likes club or
Yeah.
you give those out, but
Right.
you understand what I'm saying, and I'm sure you see that from your side. That's very interesting.
Yeah, because even being a part of Looks Like Film, as you know, there's 4 or 5 of us that are kind of the faces of Looks Like Film, and we love the community, but our whole point of that community isn't to show off or get likes or to make your name grow. It's just to share work that you're proud of, and we want to give people a platform where those photos can be viewed, and they can get backlinks to their site, and
Yeah,
yeah, we just wanted to have this community to create inspiration is where it all started. Because you're in the groups. I mean, there's some amazing artists in there that are from all over the world,
right.
that absolutely deserve to be seen. So yeah, it gets but yeah, I mean, we probably get the question once a month of, what is this group? Is it just for likes or ego stroking, and it's honestly, it just gets down to the brass tacks of if you have a photo you're proud of, it's fun to share it with people. I mean, it doesn't go much deeper than that. It's
I mean,
fun.
I don't think you and Lucas and all the rest of the team will mind me saying this, but it looks like film is a business. I mean, it's not. It's a community, but like just like we're artists in business, but like I mean, I don't think anybody's naive to that. Just like rangefinder's a business and designer logo,
Sure.
it's a business. It's a business that really adds value to our community, but it's a business, and I know you guys have a marketing plan. It's not just another Facebook group. You guys are awesome and you're thoughtful and you have a plan and you have a mission and a vision and a goal. So
Yeah, when we interact, I think Luke and I have talked about it quite a lot, and I think it grew so big so fast because when we are interacting with the community, it's us. It's not a stretch of our business. It's us as people sitting here in the studio, chatting with you, answering your messages, answering your emails,
yeah, sure.
looking for lost photos, stuff like that. It's actually us as people,
Yeah.
and that's why we have the meetups, and it's it's all a lot of fun. It's just all about interacting and lifting each other up.
Right, exactly. Because that only at the end of the day, that only benefits everyone. And
Exactly.
when we
Yeah.
all when we all can really sit there and interact in a healthy way, like that's a good thing for the photography world.
Absolutely. And it's and we also understand the people that, it gets caught up in the comparison game, because you do see amazing photos in there. And again, I think that's something that happens to most artists. They'll see one thing, it could be a painter, and they'll see a painting from one of their favorite artists, and they're like, "Oh man, they want to give up painting," or something like that. We all go through little spells like that.
Yeah, of course, of course. So let me go to the blog on the website, and so Matthew Lins is his last name, I guess. He's wondering what you kind of touched on a little bit, but can you be a little more specific? What's your best marketing tip? Like, what do you do to find those brides? Like, what is it you're doing right now?
So with my new website, I'll be honest, I went full time with this job in August of 2015. So I'm still fairly new to the business end of things. Everything's been word of mouth and social media. So for me, this year SEO is going to be number one. So I'm switching to a WordPress site with Ross from Flow Themes. They're creating a custom website for me.
Cool.
And then Instagram. I'm going to focus more on Instagram looking at hashtags that are popular. And yeah, I share a lot of work because I feel like even if I put it out there, it's at least out there. It could come across someone's desks. But I think the big thing for me is going to be SEO this year, and that'll take time. But I'm just trying to practice my best patience with that. I'm a guy that's always looking for a quick fix or something, and life just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think a lot of other photographers are that way too?
I haven't looked into it enough, but I would think a lot of photographers that are new in the game, like, if they went full time with this within the past 2 years or so, I would think that thought comes into their heads quite a lot.
Sure.
About how they just want to, I share a studio space with 2 other photographers, and Katie, she's got a good amount of weddings booked compared to me. So I'm just like, I need to get that many weddings. But it's like, hey, she's been doing this for a number of years longer than you have. Like it takes time to build a client base. And so I'm just trying to work on patience.
Yeah, sure. So you're teaching though too. So you're doing workshops and teaching
Mm-hmm.
folks. I mean, how is that? Because I do the same thing. I do mentoring, I do workshops, and
so all the workshops I get asked to speak at is all focused on the creative end of things.
Okay.
Which is great, because anytime I am reached out to asked to speak at a workshop, I always tell them, hey, as far as the business side of things goes, I'm at the beginning stages of learning what works, how to implement things into my website. But they all say, no, we want you to speak on creativity, imagination, inspiration, how you come up with these ideas on the spot at a wedding, etc. So I'm comfortable accepting those speaking roles because it's focused on that, because I can talk about
That's
that.
a really mature answer, by the way. I really appreciate that, because I've talked to many people who are, we're jumping on the new thing,
Sure.
the presets and the workshops, that are really new, and that's a really thoughtful response, and I think that makes sense. You do have some rad creative stuff.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, I just like being honest about things. It's I mean, if someone asked me to speak at a workshop about how my business is growing and stuff, I would turn it down. So I'm just not at that stage yet. It wouldn't be right to accept money from people and then, hop up on stage and say, oh, I'm in my first year and a half. Like, here's what I've done. And they'd be like, what? So it's, yeah.
Well, can you talk about the rangefinder, your response to that, the top 30 list, and maybe talk a little bit about how you think you got on that list, and some of your thoughts.
Yeah, sure. It's been a very interesting time with that. I've mulled around the thought about it. Firstly, I want to say it was just an honor to be nominated for it.
Yeah.
But I've come to the conclusion that I did reach the top 30 because I feel like I do offer something unique and different in the industry when I create my wedding photos.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that everything I do is completely original, but I am not focusing on the trends of things. When I walk into a wedding, I don't have standard poses or a standard shot that I've seen somewhere else. We're all inspired by some shots we've seen. I mean, I've used some poses that other people have used, sure. But I really feel like my eye for how I see things is what won me that award. Because even Rangefinder themselves said when they did the live video of the announcements that they were looking for something that stands out, that's a little different than the norm.
Sure.
And I think I fit that. I think I fit that category quite well.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. So, I mean, were you surprised?
Oh, I was. Yeah. I mean, I was floored. I was actually sitting in Toronto airport when I got the email. I was flying to New York for our Looks Like film workshop.
Yeah.
And I got the email and just about dropped my phone on the ground. And it was a really, it was. I mean, I was all smiles. I mean, it's a really, like I said, I'm not good at accepting accolades or awards. It's kind of a half humble, half I don't feel deserving of those things a lot of the time, which I'm working on, trying to tell myself you do deserve it.
Well, but just saying that proves that you are deserving of it. You know that, right?
Yeah, it's very strange, man. I'm really trying to work on it. I think it's something stems from my childhood where I've never been good at. I just kind of cower away and just like, yeah, it's neat. Oh.
Sure. Yeah, I think many of us are in the same boat there. That's yeah, that's really interesting. But congratulations on that. Yeah, I think you deserve it, and everybody else on that list. I've got a few other really good friends. Josh and Shelly Hartman are my close friends, and then
Yeah,
love Lucas, of course, as well, and then a few others that I really highly respect and really just love. Don and Helen got on there. Love them.
Yeah, great people. The whole list was just it was a list full of great talent.
Yeah, just incredible. And I'm just so happy for all of y'all. It's just wonderful.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Let's go back to the phones.
Okay,
Facebook. Let's see. Is that Jeff? You may have answered what Jeff was saying. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, so I just want to talk about the image that I used for the blog.
Sure.
That's double exposure in your 6D, right? You shoot 6D.
Yeah, I shoot with two 6Ds and one Sony A7 when I want to do some older film lens stuff and use a tilt adapter with that. But yeah, that was with the Canon 6D.
Okay, so you kind of explained it on Facebook, I see, but can you talk about that image just a little bit and what was going on in your mind and how did you technically go about that?
So that was my first wedding of 2016 last year, and we were on our way to the reception. And as soon as we got there, we had maybe 20 minutes or so to create a few more portraits. Yeah. And the reception venue had a stage with a big red curtain, really cool old theatric looking venue. And I was looking for a spot that had some interesting light, and I went backstage, and it was like something out of a kid's movie. It was backstage, so there was boxes of stuff and brooms, but there was this like 2 or 3 beams of light just shooting in right at the right time. So I called the bride and groom back there and started taking photos of the groom, and just had half of his face lit up and exposed for the highlights. So I took 2 shots of him, and then the thought clicked in my head, well, how could I merge their faces together? And I said, if I use the multiple exposure mode. So I took 1 shot of him, and we kind of marked where his left foot was standing. And then I asked him to move out and put her in there. And then while I'm in live view, I thought to myself, what if I flipped it upside down? And luckily they kind of have the similar size heads. I only think I had to move forward maybe a little bit on hers. And took the shot and looked at the back of my camera and was like, whoa. We all take one of those shots where we look at it ourselves and we're like, oh my God, what did I just do? And it was a one-off shot, and I showed them the back of the camera, and they were so thrilled. She was like, we're done. We're going to party. That's the only photo we need. And so that made me feel great. And it was, it was a very, it was one of those ideas that just, I don't even know what inspired me to do it. I think it's one of those things, if you start doing multiple exposures, you just, it's always an outlet you can try if you want to try something different, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
So the thought just came in my head, and I flipped it upside down because I always use live view for those. And when I saw what it would look like upside down, because with Canon you get a preview of the multiple exposure, so it's a little easier to kind of plan things out and take the shot. Sure. And just turned out exactly what I was looking for.
I mentor people online, and I talk about this idea of being willing to take risk and experiment, even in the moment of working with someone who pays you. It seems like you're fairly comfortable doing that. Can you talk about that a little bit more with your work?
Sure. Yeah. I think it's a pretty. I think people, it's all fear-based, right? Because you are thinking, as a business person, they hired me to take photos of them. They saw my portfolio. So the easiest route to risk and experiment is, we'll get those photos out of the way, the ones that they saw in your portfolio. And, you know, like that multiple exposure I made, it took 1 minute and 10 seconds. I mean, it wasn't like we ate up a whole bunch of time just to create one photo. And I've created plenty where I look at the back of the camera and I'm like, well, that's garbage, like on to the next thing. And that's important too. Don't, if you have an idea and you want to try it, you try 2 or 3 times and it's not working out, just move on, because you'll have other couples you can try that idea on. Just put it in one of your brain boxes, keep it there for the next time. But yeah, I started experimenting my second or third wedding I ever shot. And so luckily my portfolio is kind of filled with those ideas. So the clients that do hire me, they kind of, I don't know if they expect, but they know that that's part of my thing, is experimental portraits. So it's just jumping in the fire. Just try it. You know, for everyone listening, you know, one of your weddings this year, if you have a couple that set aside an hour for portraits, take 10 minutes, try something. If it doesn't work out, that's all right. You know, your clients aren't going to be mad because you didn't make that photo that you had in your brain, because it's not like your brain is verbally telling them the idea you're coming up with right now. You're just trying things. Because most of the time when I'm trying things with my clients, I just say, hey, go over there and hug each other. I don't do a lot of shoulder adjusting and chin up, chin down stuff. You know, they're getting married. They know how to hug and kiss and walk with each other. And then I just stand back and kind of do my thing. And that's where you can knock out those, standard's not the right word, but it kind of is. Those standard portraits, you know, where you really get the emotions, you know, you can get those while you're coming up with the idea in your head.
Well, you know, I think, you know, there comes the business side, right? So you have 2 things kind of working together. You have those shots that people expect you to get, the ones that, you know, the kiss and the looks and et cetera, the ones that their expectations. But then, you kind of, you over deliver with being an artist at the same time. You were talking about fear. I mean, have you always been able to overcome fear like that, and kind of like on the spot moments? Is that something where you feel comfortable, or I mean, is that something you've had to develop over time, and how?
I think I've always been comfortable with it, by doing a lot of those self-portraits that now when I look back on them, they're crap, but I was willing to try. And I think human connection with your clients is a big deal too. You know, when you meet with them during the consultation, you're hanging out with them on the wedding day, they know the type of person you are. So it's not like they met you for 5 minutes in an email. You typically have some type of relationship with them already. And I'm the type of guy that, I mean, I'm emotional. I take things serious, but I'm also make sure that on the wedding day that they're having the coolest day of their lives. Like if something stressful is going on, I'll pull their family out of the room and say, hey, I need to get some portraits of the bride or the groom, and just say, hey, just sit here and chill out. Like, I don't need any photos. So I think that relationship is a big part of it too. They trust in me. It builds that trust, right? Where I just say, hey guys, I want to try one thing. Just come outside with me for 10 minutes.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's the same here. I talk to, during a lot of my mentor sessions and my workshops, I talk to people who have these bridezillas, and I can't relate with them at all. I have no experience with these people because I only get these brides that already trust me. Like those are the only ones that hire me. They're the ones that, like, I don't want somebody who doesn't trust me already to give me money. Like that doesn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah. And that's all the consultation. That's, you set the expectations right off the bat. You know, that's why when I bring clients here in the studio, you know, I show them a slideshow and I show them albums and say, this is how I tell the story of a wedding day. I tell it with a journalistic approach as the day's unfolding, but I mix that in with some creative portraits, and creative portraits with the wedding party, you know, all that stuff. but yeah, it's all about balance and setting the expectations for the people you're working with. If you set the expectations and you mesh well, it's going to work out great.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's head over to the blog here. Don wants to know why you're so cool.
I don't really have an answer for that. I don't know. Chest hair and hot chocolate. That's why. Don.
Well, somebody else is asking, where does this? I think Kyle did this, but where's the "Shut Up Loafman" come from?
So the origin of Shut Up itself is something that started in Looks Like Film with the staff. I think it was Luke that started it. He just started to tell all of us staff members to shut up. And then Luke and I we're kind of the faces of that Facebook group. So people reach out to us a lot and we interact. And so then people started saying, "Shut up, Lucas, shut up, Loafman." And the shutuploafman.com started from Laurent, from Helena and Laurent Photography. He's in the Bay Area. He created a website where if you click a button, it sends me a text message that says, "Shut up, Loafman." And it's just a silly little thing that's kind of taken off.
So are you getting like text messages right now?
Oh, yeah, I'll show you.
So if you go to shutuploafman.com, right?
Yeah, you hit a big red button and it'll send me, you can send, so like Lucas Z sent me one on January 7th. It says they would like me to shut up, and they would also like you to know shut up. So yeah, I get a ton of messages. I mean, I forget, there's a counter on the website. I think Laurent knows. I've received over like 1,200 text messages telling me to shut up. So again, just one of those fun, silly things that, that I don't know why it caught on, but it's definitely hilarious.
Yeah. Let's see then. Let me go to some of my questions really quickly. I'm going to use this opportunity to say that we are doing the photo rehab down here in North Carolina, and it's happening in October. And I'll actually be interviewing Josh and Shelly, who are on the same list as you, and they're actually going to be there.
Nice.
Rehab, yeah. So, and I just confirmed an artist talk with them actually, and I'll be releasing that soon. But
awesome, can't wait to tune in.
Yeah, they're amazing folks. If y'all haven't checked them out, if you haven't checked out thephotorehab.com, check Josh and Shelly Hartman, thephotorehab.com, and it's going to be lovely. Okay, so in your opinion, what do you think, or where do you think the photography business, the industry, our art form, where is it going in the next few years?
Oh man, that's a tough question. I think any futures of any kind is hard to put a solid answer on. I don't really have an honest answer. I do think the storytelling and emotional side of wedding photography will be around for a while. Because I think that's not that it's always been around, but I think that's one of those trends that it's kind of more than a trend. It becomes kind of a standard. And I think that goes with the people that are getting married these days, the standard age range, like 23 to 30. That's what they relate to. They want to see photos of themselves in love with the one that they love. So I think that will stay around for quite a while. As far as other progressions, I honestly don't know. I don't know where it's headed. Yeah, it's a tough question. I wish I had a better answer, but
so maybe talking about like um, photographers, the amount of new photographers coming into the industry,
sure.
and all the little trends that have popped up, presets, workshops, the mirrorless stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
what do you? I know you guys, because I mean, you sell your own presets. I do too. You do workshops. I do workshops.
Sure.
I mean, what are your thoughts on this? And does it last? Does it evolve?
I do think the technical side of things will evolve a little bit. As far as like presets go, because who knows, in 5 years, Lightroom could be this unbelievable engine that will have even more features or more customization that you can do and you can sell.
Right.
I was, I'll be honest, I was hesitant to sell my presets at first because I didn't think there was enough interest in them because my editing style is a little different. It's not so bold and colorful. It's a little more flat. But yeah, the people started showing interest. So I signed on and was like, this is going to be wild. And they've done great. And it just feels like a great honor to even be able to do that. And as far as workshops go, I think, yeah, we've definitely noticed a trend of a lot of them are happening. But to me, I just kind of look at that as like a wave. Like right now, we're just in kind of a big bump of it. And then they'll start to go back down and level out to kind of a normal level. Because even, even though as large as our industry is, the wedding industry, as far as in the photography industry, is pretty small. So there are photography workshops out there that none of us have even ever heard of. You know what I mean? We kind of have a tunnel vision with the groups we're involved in and social media. And, even though there's, 36,000 members in Looks Like Film, we all kind of know who each other are. We know what workshops are going on. So aside from that, like there's probably 40 times more workshops going on that's not relevant to our work in any way.
Sure.
Studio workshops, commercial, fashion, sports, there's probably all kinds of stuff. So I don't think education will ever go away. I think that we're just kind of in a big spike of it right now.
Right. No, that's a good way to put it. So whenever you started off as a wedding photographer, what are some big challenges that you ended up running into initially that really stand out in your mind, and what are some ways that you overcame them?
One of the big things was just the gear alone. I think my first wedding I shot with I think it was a Canon 40D. Yeah, maybe a 40D or a couple models after that. But yeah, I mean, it was a Rebel style camera.
Yeah.
With
sorry,
that's all right.
Just knocked my microphone over. Sorry, guys, on Instagram too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just had the kit lens and then the fantastic plastic 1.8, and it was challenging because even though I took a lot of self-portraits and stuff, you go into these different venues that have this whole array of lighting scenarios, and you kind of throw yourself in the fire where even though you've practiced for a year and a half or so, you haven't practiced in all these different scenarios.
Right.
So I really had to just threw myself into the fire and started risking things during my first couple weddings, and until the actual photo was bright enough, and then I started to learn how to use flash. And
well, I mean, it sounds like you understood that was important for your business. I mean, I don't.
Right. Sure.
I don't. That's so uncommon to start off. So you have this really special perspective, that
Yeah.
For you.
And I didn't want to. Hang on one second. Hang on.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Hey guys, while Jacob's gone, you can go check out some more artist talks. I've done artist talks with like Sam Hurd, Don and Helen, Lucas, Alice Moran, I think is how you say her name. I've done when Chad Braithwaite. I did one last week with him. I have a ton of really amazing photographers that have contributed to our community and that just give back and are there for us, online every day, available. So please go and watch those, and then just go ask those folks questions. Everyone there is so wonderful. Had a really great one with Twyla Jones a while back as well. It was a wonderful artist and photographer. So please go check those out. They're all just wonderful. So okay, and we're back.
All right, sorry, I'm trying to turn that heater off. It's so loud on my end.
No, it's fine. I actually did one with I did an artist talk with Ryan Brenizer when I first started this series, and I'm not sure if anybody could have heard anything he said. Looking back, I remember sitting there like, "Oh, this is terrible," but it was live and it was fine. So I haven't tried to re-listen to it to see if it's truly that bad. But I remember in the middle of it, there was like this in and out stuff, and so ours is fine. No worries.
Okay. Yeah. And yeah, the other thing I struggled with at weddings that I had to overcome was group shots. How to interact, how to set up those group shots, because they are very important. Obviously we don't show them on our website because a family group shot, unless there's something really interesting going on in the shot, we typically don't throw those in our portfolio. But they're some of the most important photos for the family. So I really had to get over a fear of the social interaction with all those different people. And yeah, that was something that took me probably 5 or 6 weddings until I realized that, hey, they're just people, So when I do the family shots and the wedding party shots, I just tell them, I just say, hey guys, you just give me 10 minutes and then you're back to doing your thing. This isn't a super creative part of the day. Just, shoot and grin, and you'll be back to the party in no time. And that works well. It's just you come up with these thoughts in your head of what these people are going to think about you if you ask them to do this and that. And at the end of the day, you just ask them to do it, and they don't even think about what they just did probably ever again.
Right.
It's not as big of a deal as you assume it is in your head.
Sure, that's so true. So true. Can you talk about a few other photographers that folks may not know, or even other artists that are not photographers that inspire you?
Sure. I think my biggest inspiration as far as photographers go is Liam Wharton. He's out of Sweden, primarily a film photographer. We shot a wedding together a couple years ago, and yeah, I've told him since day one that you're going to be a guy your work's going to be in a museum someday. He just has one of those eyes that's he really stands out to me in the industry. And as far as non-photographers go, film directors are a big, like Paul Thomas Anderson is probably my number one. So The Master, There Will Be Blood. The Master, I try to watch that once every couple months, because the color schemes, the edit of it, the compositions, he did Punch Drunk Love as well, and that's one of my favorite. He just has each film that he does has a different feel to it, and I feel like I line up with that because that's how I shoot my weddings. Every single one is kind of different. So while I'm consistent with my eye, I guess, if you go on my website, no wedding really looks the same. I try to make sure that they have a different feel to them. So he's been a big inspiration for me. And then music. Music is the other big thing for me. I don't know if there's a term for it, but before each wedding while I'm driving there, I choose kind of a soundtrack for the day that I play in the back of my mind. So it could be 1 to 3 songs, and a lot of it's instrumental type stuff. So Explosions in the Sky.
Yeah.
Who's some of the other ones? Even some Radiohead, Coldplay. People probably hate that I say that, but I actually enjoy Coldplay.
I love some of their stuff. Yeah.
Mogwai. There's some Japanese bands that are really good. But yeah, I try to really hone in on those songs. So I'll listen to only 3 or 4 songs on my way to a wedding, to keep those playing. And that ties into how I see things for the day. And yeah, like I said, I don't know if there's really a word for that, but that's a big inspiration for me, because it draws out emotions for me. And it says in my About Me that I feel like a film director at a wedding, except nobody knows I'm there, because they're writing the story themselves. So yeah, putting a song to that really helps me create.
Right, yeah. I would agree. I love when photographers, I think you've done this, I love when photographers share their Spotify playlists, like their editing, their shooting ones or whatever. I initially, Jeremy Cowart. Yeah, he always talks about how he likes to play music, during shoots, because it gets awkward sometimes in the studio. And when he first
kind of sets the mood.
Yeah, I was watching one of those workshops on like Creative Live or something, and I was like, I didn't know you could do that. This was like several years ago, and I was like, oh wow, you can play music during shoots. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, it adds a whole nother element, a whole nother layer to the experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing.
It's art just like any other art.
One more photographer I want to add.
Yeah.
My very first workshop was Sam Hurd up in Chicago.
Yeah.
Like 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. And I took a lot away from it, but the most important thing I took away from it was stay on your own path. Do your own thing and just stay there, because he's right. If you stay there, you build this client base that is after you for what you're doing, for your eye. And so I just have to give a shout out to him, because he's and he's a great dude. We've stayed in touch through all the years. And
for sure. And I just had him down here in Durham last month, actually, and whenever you were talking about something you said, made me think of something that he said previously. It may have been just talking about like trying to intentionally doing something different, you don't actually fall into that huge circle or pool of other photographers that's so saturated. It's just like you must be you. And I think maybe it was him that made a good point. He connected it and said, I mean, your business basically depends on it. Your business, your livelihood, your sustainability depends on you doing you.
Yeah.
And you don't have the luxury of doing what everybody else does, because you will not last. And I've failed so many times just because of that. I'm just someone who doesn't settle in. But what happens is just like we were talking about earlier, you end up getting to a point where you're like, fuck this. I'm just going to start over.
Yep.
And then you're like, oh shit, I still have to make money. And then you start doing what everybody else does, and you have this circle, and so, I mean, I did that for years. And but yeah, I think he definitely hits the nail on the head there.
Yeah, big time.
Ideal.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. And I mean, how great is it that you get clients that want you just for your work. You don't have to.
Just is a dream. And I know, like, from a business person standpoint, like someone who coming into the photography business as a business person rather than an artist, like, I know that's hard to hear.
Sure.
And it's equally hard for me to hear their business tactics as well that I don't want to do, so it's the road goes both ways there. And I understand the business person photographer and the photographer that has a business, and so, and both have to give and take, and that's hard. There's sacrifices and such, but
big time. Yeah. I just enjoy that I don't get, my clients, I don't get those questions of, hey, I saw this shot on Pinterest. Could we recreate it? Hey, I don't get those clients, because again, you set the expectations, you show them your work. they are there for what you create, and what you add to their wedding is a value. So yeah, but you're right. I mean, there's definitely a crossroads there where you have to kind of step away for a second from that artist part of your brain and be a business person, and try to find that middle of the road where they're both working together and you can forge ahead.
Yeah. I think luckily, like for folks like me and you and many other photographers out there, there's a huge group of people that are starting to shift to value that a little bit more than these just kind of quantity.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree.
They want to see humans. They want to pay artists to make art of them, you know, and that's valuable. That's something that people want. And you know, I think you still have to build a brand, of course, but you know, that's something that people find really wonderful. And I love being the person to give that to them, you know. So.
Oh yeah, it's the best feeling, man. It's the best feeling.
Well, thank you for sharing that. So this is a question I love asking, and I know that you've especially over the past few months, you've been having these really, really emotional Facebook posts. You've been writing a lot and really just being open and wearing your heart on your sleeve, basically. What are some like emotional struggles that you've gone through that have kind of almost helped you? So I love the fact that pain sometimes like helps us become, you know, it helps build character essentially. You know, I think that's so important as humans. And so when people go through hard things, it makes them better. What are some things that you've gone through that have really made you a better human and a better photographer?
I mean, as of late, it's I think a lot of people go through these creative slumps where you start to question your worth. Do you deserve these things? Am I as good at this as I say I am? Am I going to be able to do this? And that's kind of where, especially when winter rolls around, that's kind of where I live for a month or so. But this year I did something different. Instead of just knowing that I'll come out of this slump, I started looking into the science of it. So yeah, I mean, I'm trying to figure out. I listen to a lot of audiobooks on how to believe in yourself. And you know, like you call them, the neuro cookies. I've listened to a lot of books from doctors that write on about what happiness actually is, how to value yourself, and yeah, ultimately how to believe in yourself, because that's something I've never looked into or worked on. And to be honest, you know, I'm 32. I don't think in my 32 years of life I've ever tried to work on myself in any capacity. I've always just I just ride the wave, and whatever happens, happens. And yeah, I'm kind of ready to change that. I want to walk around with that healthy confidence. And yeah, it's hard work. You definitely have a lot of introspection, and you ask yourself some tough questions, and you probably get some tough answers out of yourself. But yeah, I'm just working on trying to be more present in life, and more whole with myself. I'm trying to love myself more, because it's something I've always struggled with. Sure. So while I always try to share, you know, I am a fairly positive guy most of the times, but even positive people go through these negative slumps, especially if you're in some type of creative industry. So yeah, this year I've decided that I'm going to really focus on myself and try to take care of myself in the best way that I can.
Wonderful. What are that kind of leads into my next question, staying grounded, you know, as we gain clients, we start working with multiple people, collaborating, you get emails, a lot more emails. Like, what are some things you specifically are doing to stay grounded and loving yourself?
So one of the things, like for me, I struggle with social media a lot. I honestly believed I developed a type of heavy, not heavy, but I definitely developed a type of addiction to it, where I'm constantly on my phone. You know, I could be out to dinner with friends and they're in the middle of talking and I'm on my stupid phone answering a message, or, you know, I'm with my mom down on Thanksgiving and she's trying to tell me how she loves me and I'm on Facebook Messenger. And it's just like, you know, it finally hit me that, you know what? So now I go on Instagram twice per day for about 20 minutes each. And I go on Facebook 3 times a day for about 20 minutes each. So a couple hours a day I'm on social media now. And that's really helped me try to get back into things that I enjoy, which is watching films, and not from a lazy standpoint of like I'm just laying around in pajamas watching films.
Sure.
I definitely had a couple weeks of that when the off season started, but films, audiobooks, podcasts, taking my dog for walks, doing things around the house, just things that when wedding season's going, it's hard to balance all those things. You know, when you're done shooting a wedding, you just want to go crash out for a day or two and then get back to the grind.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm trying to focus on how to be a human in the world rather than being a human online.
Right.
Because that's what, you know, if I'm on my deathbed, what do I really want to say? I had real life experiences, or, you know, people liked me on Facebook. I mean, even though I am myself on Facebook, but still at the same time, it's, yeah, so I'm trying to find a good balance between work and real world time.
Sure. That's a great perspective. I appreciate that. Honestly, it's so important for anybody, all humans, I think, to be, I guess, to be grounded in your surroundings, to try to stop multitasking, which is what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's hard to, it's,
you know,
it's being present.
Business, you know, and it's like, got to reach all these people in the most efficient, optimal way, you know, and so it's that becomes what's always on the mind, and especially for people that are already driven anyways, you know, and so that's that's a challenge. I've been doing the same thing over the past couple of years, where it's been like self-care.
Yeah, it's very important,
you know.
Yeah, and it's something I've honestly never done. My whole adult life, I've never looked into it, and yeah, late last year in 2016, it started to hit me, and something happened that really brought it to my attention, and yeah, it's very important. And I think in the U.S. over here, it's just not it's not as common to hear about self-care and self-love and stuff. So yeah,
for sure. And you recently quit smoking too, right? So trying.
Yeah, it's on and off, man.
Right. So you're working on that though.
I mean, I definitely have the feeling in me, because I am I'm exercising, eating better, and just the eating better alone will change your whole friggin' world. Like I couldn't imagine eating like a fast food taco anymore. It's just so that's been a big thing.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that's important. I was watching Creative Live, you know, the Dave Asprey, the Bulletproof guy. I think I watched his course one day, you know, and I started researching how I can just be a better creative person by hacking my brain and hacking my body, you know. And I started experimenting with that, just like I do with my double exposures and my photos. And you know, you start experimenting with your body. I was like, this is the only one I have. So I don't like how my mind feels. I don't like how my body feels all the time. I don't want to have to destroy myself to feel good, you know. So life is actually supposed to be enjoyable and not shitty all the time, you know.
Yeah, and it's tough because we all go through our struggles and stuff, you know. Like mine was a gambling addiction. It'll be this March, it'll be 7 years. Yeah, it's been since 2010 since I placed a bet, and that's what really opened my eyes to addiction and what it really is, and how destructive it is. Because you can do things like, even when I smoke cigarettes, it's a destructive habit.
Sure.
It's because something is going on. I used to tell people it's because I just really enjoy them. I like hanging out and having a cigarette. It's like that's like people saying they enjoy hanging out and, you know, you take a rat poison pill. Like that's not, there's nothing of value from a cigarette. Like, let's get real, you know? Yeah. So yeah, that really brought my mind together on what addiction really is. And I know the steps I need to take. It's just the nicotine one is a tough one to break.
Right. No, it's understandable. It's, you know, it's designed to get people addicted to it. So I mean, it makes sense.
Big time.
That's hard. Thank you so much for sharing that too. That's
Yeah, you're welcome, man.
That's hard shit to communicate to your people.
Yeah, for sure. I try to make it a point every March. I post like a birthday thing about how real addiction is, and because you know what, we're all this species walking around on this spinning ball, and if one of those posts reach one person and they go reach out for help, then that's it's worth it.
Sure. Yeah, well, I appreciate that so much. Do you have any new questions on your side before we kind of go into the gear thing?
No, I think I'm good, man. I'm ready to get into the gear part.
Lovely. Well, a few people are asking questions about the gear thing. I like to know what if you had to choose a top 3 list of your favorite pieces of gear, what is that? What is that to you?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I used to place a lot of importance on gear, and I still do. But I'm the type of photographer where, I still shoot with the original Sony A7 and the original Canon 6Ds.
Yeah.
And I'm just the type, until they stop working for me, until a situation comes up. So like even the low light stuff, I'm the type that if it's low light, I just add light to a scene. If it's a flash or a video light, it's not a big deal to me. So ISO performance isn't really a deal breaker for me. If I can shoot stuff up to ISO 1600 or so, that's plenty for me. If I had to choose top 3, I mean, I would definitely throw the A7 on there for me, because the mirror.
A7 you're shooting with?
What's that?
It's just the regular, like is it the A7R or?
No, just the original A7. Just the first one they released with the A7S, I think. Okay. So yeah, I really enjoy that because the mirrorless game is huge, and for my style of work, I get to use old manual film lenses with the focus peaking feature, and the old film lenses really lend itself to my style, where the rendering of those lenses is not as punchy. Most of them are kind of flat, so the raw files work very well for my style of shooting. My favorite lens, honestly, is a Minolta Rocore 1.4, the 58 millimeter. Okay. Yeah, the 58 1.4. It's an old Minolta Rocore lens. It was, I think, $65 on eBay. I found it for, and it's just, it renders beautifully. And I think that's the real beauty of mirrorless is you have these, you go on eBay and just do a search for film lens, and you can find, I don't know, probably 10,000 lenses you can adapt to your mirrorless body, and that's a beautiful thing. And even the tilt adapters and that stuff you can attach to the mirrorless and don't have to worry about the mirror clinking up against them. So I would say the Sony A7, that Minolta lens, and probably the Canon 135L. I really love compression. Do Brennizers with those, or pano stitches, however people want to call them. So those would be my top 3 probably. Cool. The A7, the Canon 135L, and that Minolta lens.
It's so interesting. You don't use the really popular pieces of equipment, and I love hearing that. I think that's.
Yeah, I spent a year or so when I first got the A7 where I think I had 26 or so lenses on my shelf here at the studio. And I think with anyone, the more you shoot, you find which gear works for you. And so this year I have the 35L and the 135L for my Canon bodies. And then the A7, I think I have 3 or 4 lenses left. And it's just, I think you kind of get to a point where when you're creating, while the gear is important, it kind of fades into the background of your mind. Sure. Where you're just kind of like, okay, I got 35 and 135, and you just start making photos. Like I very rarely think about my gear on a wedding day while I'm shooting.
Right.
Very rarely.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I tell beginning photographers when I work with them one-on-one. I'm like, this is because honestly, that's a lot of their questions. I'm sure you get that a lot from.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
What gear do you use? And I mean, on the website, I mean, folks are
Yeah.
asking that everywhere. That's always a question. It's so important for folks. And I'm like, it really doesn't matter as long as you've shot with it a gazillion times. Like, who cares what you use? Because you know how it responds, and you can manipulate that for to allow it to give your photos value and allow you to make the art that you want to do. It's just like a relationship. You have to sit there and spend time with it, and sitting there. If you don't want that, get rid of it and find a different one. And but if you're willing to keep something and work on it, spend time with it, tinker with it, experiment it, touch it.
Yeah. It's huge. It's that's why I love the mirrorless thing. Like, one of my top 3 items of gear is a $60 lens from eBay. I mean, it's that's just fine for me. Like, that's created some beautiful images with that lens, and it was $60 friggin' dollars.
Lovely. Cool. I'll end with letting you ask me a question there.
Okay. What do I ask Mark Meyer? How did your exhibition go? DE.
Oh, thank you for asking about that. It's gone really well. I haven't sold any of my double exposures, but it's been an amazing experience moving over to the print photography world. I am so ignorant to all of it.
Sure.
It's so much fun though. Like, it has been one of the most rewarding parts of my profession and business to print my double exposures, a series of them, put them up, and just like know that every day someone is interacting with them and admiring them. It's just like, that is so much better than like a Facebook like to me.
Oh yeah, man.
It is leaps and bounds. And like, the fact that I spent time and money to put it on paper, put it in a frame, I'm the one who puts it on the wall. It's like, I love this process so much. It's just so special. And so I've done 2 shows so far. I have another one coming up in the summertime, awesome, where they're actually putting my double exposures on T-shirts and selling them. I'm going to be in a lifestyle brand.
Sweet.
Yeah, which is it's so rad. I'm so pumped about that.
Congrats, man. That sounds awesome.
Here in Durham, North Carolina, called Runaway.
Okay.
And so it's been wonderful. That's another kind of random thing that I just decided I was going to do. I wanted my work out there a little bit more and to this audience that has never seen it. So it's been fun. It's just been really enjoyable, honestly. It's been one of the most rewarding parts of my photography.
It's so good to hear, man. That's a risk you took, and you know what? It's rewarding. So keep going.
Yeah, it's rad. It's fun stuff. So well, I think we are done here. You have to get back to work, and I have to go eat food because it's dark here, as y'all can see.
We're almost there. Another 40 minutes or so.
Yeah, I can see that lovely light back there. I can see those blues and yellows.
Oh yeah.
So, well, Jacob, thank you so much for spending time with us. Thanks for your honesty and being candid. Thank you for your just contribution to the photography community and looks like film community and just being willing to help folks out there. You're just a really inspiring person and positive figure that I think this industry really needs, and it's refreshing. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. And thanks for doing these artist talks. They pay off big. So keep them up.
Yeah, word. Awesome. Everybody out there, please follow Jacob. If you're watching on the blog, just click below. I've got his website, his Facebook and Instagram. Please follow him. Go to his website and spam all his comment areas and say hello and tell him to shut up and all that. If you want him to get a text message right now, just go to shutuploafman.com and click all the buttons and he'll get it right to his phone. So love everybody out there. Thank y'all so much for joining in. And we'll talk to you soon. Peace, everybody. Thanks, Jacob.
See you guys. Thank you.